Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, The 5 Laws of Excellence in Every Phone Call. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DEALERUN. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DEALERUN, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. Recently at NADA, DEALERUN received the Best in Show Award for website design from Dealer Marketing Magazine. DEALERUN was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2012 and 2013. And oh yeah, DEALERUN customers have been winners of the Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards highly coveted overall winner 4 times in a row. Hey, we're the only website company that can claim that. DEALERUN is so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at DEALERUN.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We are so pleased to have Greg Wells as our presenter today. Greg Wells is the president of All Call Automotive Contact Centers, a U.S.-based company providing a unique menu of services for forward-thinking dealers and GMs in the U.S. and Canada. The company focuses on BDC and Internet sales solutions by facilitating the launch and ongoing support of an in-dealership BDC and offering an outsourced service as well. The company's Kentucky-based contact center is staffed with expert communicators and is a breeding ground for best-in-practice processes. Starting his first BDC in 1993, Greg has experienced the evolution of the Internet and automotive call centers. As senior partner at Kane Automotive and founder of All Call, Greg has trained and consulted with hundreds of dealerships and thousands of dealership frontline employees. Greg's knack for making the complex sparkle with simplicity and his born-from-experience teaching style has made him a popular speaker at many events, including the GM eSummit 4.0, Digital Dealer, Industry Summit, and many dealer groups, 20 groups, and industry workshops. Greg can be reached at greg@myallcall.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature. It's located on the corner of your screen, and from there you can submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry. We're going to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today. For your reference, please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And I also want to let you know that DEALERUN is going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Las Vegas, baby. It's going to be at the Mirage, October 15, 16, and 17, and we're going to be at booth 809. And we're all going to be there. And we have not 1, not 2, but 4 DEALERUN presenters during this year's DDC Fall Conference. So if you're going to be there, you got to come and check out our speaking sessions, and please stop by the booth and say hi. I'm going to be there. I'd love to meet you. You definitely don't want to miss any of that stuff. So for more information or to get your tickets, go to digitaldealerconference.com. And our friends at All Call will also be presenting at Digital Dealer. Tanya Brown, who's the Sales and Marketing Director at All Call and was previously the founding president of Women in Leadership for Ford Motor Company, will be exploring the impact of women in the automotive industry, both in the dealership and the female buying power. So if you're going to be at DDC, you're going to want to catch that one too. It's going to be a great show. And guess what? Our good friends at All Call Automotive Contact Centers are giving away a great prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, one of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning the new Apple TV with 1080p HD. This device gives you access to the best content, blockbuster movies, TV shows, sports, your music, your photos, and more right on your widescreen TV. You can even play content from your iOS devices on your TV using AirPlay. And one of you lucky attendees is going to be scoring this totally cool prize today. But you have to be on the live broadcast to win it. And all you have to do is stay tuned for the details after Greg's presentation. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for great feedback from you, our valued audience. Today, we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So we're going to have some fun today. Let's get started. Let's learn the 5 laws of excellence in every phone call. Greg Wells, I am so glad you made it onto my show. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous, and I'm so excited you're here to talk about the 5 laws of excellence in every phone call. I got to be honest with you. It's not the first time I've done a webinar that has to do with the phone, but this is the first time that somebody said you can narrow down to 5 different things that will make you excellent in every phone call. So I'm very excited what we're going to be learning. What are we going to be learning about today?
Well, I appreciate the introduction. This may be a little different content than what we're used to seeing when we talk about the telephone. So this isn't overcoming objections. This isn't setting a solid appointments. This is really branding your company through the telephone and understanding the impact that the phone has on everything you do. So what I hope we can come away with today and some simple objectives are to just give you some guidelines where we can be great on the phone all the time. It's just a culture that can be created in the dealership. It can be a daunting task, especially if you're not the general manager or the dealer, but you see the value in everybody in the store being great on the phone. So I'm going to give you some easy steps that are easy for you to implement into the dealership. Also want to show you how to measure your progress. That can be kind of fuzzy sometimes. And then probably the most important thing is how to make it stick and become part of your culture. So we need questions, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So be sure and get those questions into Eliana. And really this webinar is for you and for you to learn. And we just want to make sure that all the questions are being answered and everybody's getting the information that they need from their time today. Eliana, before we start, I just kind of like to have a feel for what type of audience I have. So if you will indulge me, I'd like to, can we just do a quick poll and ask our attendees today to just pick a shape, any shape, whichever one pops out at you, either the square, the triangle, the circle, or the cube. And chime in there to Eliana and let her know which one you're going to select today.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to launch a quick poll question. So I want you to look at those 4 shapes and hold on a second. Now look at your screen. Now pick a shape. Just select one. Do you like the square? Do you like the triangle, the circle, or the cube? Whichever. There's no wrong answer here, right, Greg?
No wrong answers.
No wrong answers. No wrong answers. We're going to start off with some simple ones, but I will let you know, audience. We do have quite a number of poll questions today, so we have some really interesting ones. This one should set us up nicely for the rest of the webinar. So don't worry if you're late. Just check out your screen. Once I get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close the poll, share the results, and then Greg can tell us what this all means. All right, Greg, I'm going to close this poll because we have almost everyone voting by now. So here we go. 13%.
Hold on a second. How did you vote?
Oh, I like circle. I don't know why, but circle was the one that spoke to me. So 13% of today's audience said square. 19% said triangle. I, along with 28% of today's audience, said circle. And an astounding 40% of today's audience like the cube.
Interesting.
So what does that all mean for us?
Well, here's what the data suggests, that the people that choose the square are analytical people. And we certainly need analytical people in our business for sure. The triangles, no surprise there. This is a cautious person. The circle represents the creative person.
Ooh.
And you said, what, 44% on the cubes?
40.
40% on the cube. So here's what we got with the cube.
Wow, we have a lot of those today in the audience.
All right, so we know what kind of audience we have, Eliana. This should be a lot of fun.
We need those cube people. They make the world go round. So thank you so much for being here today with us, all of you.
Okay, let's get serious. Here's the first thing you have to understand is I believe you can be great on the phone. And the question is, do you? And any dealership I've worked with who has really mastered the telephone at the scope we're going to talk about today, there was a definite belief system in place that we can be great on the phone every time it rings, every time we dial, every interaction that happens on that telephone is an opportunity to get a customer to think, wow, these people are awesome. So you have to believe you can do it. One thing that is really interesting about this material is there is no capital investment that has to be made. There is no money that has to be spent. Maybe some time and effort on training, but for the most part, this is a zero-cost initiative. What you focus on determines what you miss. Lou Holtz said that, and I find this to be evident in the dealership when it comes to the phone. Take a desk manager, for example. He's going to be very aware of what's going on in his showroom. He knows what his customers are doing. He can see the body language with his sales reps. He's really dialed in, knows what's going on. And the phone is just part of the atmosphere. It rings, and as long as someone answers it, we tend not to worry about it. But if we can put some focus on that telephone, it can really improve the results we're getting. To me, it's literally like this. It's the giant gorilla in the room. We all know how important the phone is. We all know we could be better on the phone, but for some reason we just take it for granted and think that it's somehow going to manage itself. And the problem is really that the telephone could be costing you millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars a year, and we just don't put the focus on it that we need to. There's some humbling facts out here. So this study came from our friends at Call Review. Chip King gave me this material. This was just a few months ago, April 2013. This data comes from a 2 million call study. So 376,000 of those calls were new car calls, and you see that only 37% of the time did the customer actually reach the employee that they were trying to reach into the dealership. So that is pretty bad. Like we're talking almost 40% of the time customers call the store, they don't reach the person that they're trying to connect with. Maybe they'll hang up if they're on hold too long. They go to voicemail, leave a message. Maybe they don't leave a message, or maybe they're just told that the employee's not available. And none of those things are good. We need a strategy to do much better than this. The used car guys did a lot better, really. 17% of the employees weren't reached, so that's a great improvement over what we saw on the new side. But still, there's an opportunity. Just think if that customer could connect or be handled properly 100% of the time. This is what we're looking for. And then also just collecting data on that telephone. Data is the fuel of the dealership. It's really an important part of your future is your database. And in some cases, the dealership in the market with the best database is always going to have the best market share, because that data is what fuels the digital age of the car business. 33% of the time we got a name and number, or a name and an email address from the study, and that's on over 1 million calls. So that's a lot of data left on the table there, or left on the phone, if you will. So Eliana, we've got a poll question coming up. I need to get into this slide a little bit, but we did a case study. We did a case study ourselves. This is with a dealership that sells about 275 cars a month, and it's a new car franchise with a good used car operation. And we wanted to look at all the interaction with the customer, not just the telephone, but in what instance did we interact with a customer. So we know, and this study is for a month. So they had 620 people in the showroom, 490 internet leads. They closed 1,800 ROs in service, had 8,500 website visitors, and 9,620 outbound calls. And this was all the interaction. Now, we have one more block here, and that is the inbound calls. And I just want you to imagine, and this is our poll question, Eliana, how many times do you think the phone rang in this dealership in this month?
All right, audience, I want you to take a look at this graph real fast before I launch the poll question, because the question is going to be, how many inbound calls do you think this dealership got in 1 month? So looking at this graph and seeing these numbers, and you said that they sell about 275 cars a month, right, Greg?
Correct.
Okay, so with a finished number of 275 sales in a month, how many inbound calls do you think this dealership got in that month? So I'm going to launch the poll question now. So for this, select one of the following answers. Do you think it was 4,000, 8,000, 12,000, 16,000, or 20,000 inbound phone calls in 1 month? Now, once we get them, we have a lot of the votes coming in, so thank you everyone for getting involved with these. We want to see how savvy you are and how well you think you know how the phone works in your dealership. So once we get a majority of the votes, we're going to close this poll and share the results, and oh my goodness, almost everyone has voted. This is awesome. You guys are on the ball today. I love it. Okay, and of course, Greg's going to let us know what the correct answer is right after I show him the answers. Greg, are you ready for the answers? Because almost everyone's voted. I mean, there's like
I'm ready. Let's see what you got.
A handful of people who didn't vote. Here we go. So we're going to share these results. Okay, 11% of today's audience think it was answer A, 4,000. 16% think it was 8,000 inbound calls. 30% of today's audience said that they thought it was 12,000. Most people, 34% of today's audience, thought it was more like 16,000. And 9% of today's audience said that they must have around 20,000 phone calls in a month. Are you ready, Greg?
I'm ready.
To show us who was right?
I am.
So this is nice because we had it all spread out. There wasn't, there was one that was overall the highest winner, but we had people voting for everything. So let's see, what was the correct answer?
There you go. The most popular answer, they were correct. 16,440 rings to the dealership.
Wow.
And this included the main switchboard and all their direct, their DID lines, all their direct dials into employees' workstations. Now, what it does not include, what doesn't it include, Eliana? You want to guess?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're talking about emails or anything, and it doesn't include service, I would guess, right?
It doesn't include cell phones.
Oh, it doesn't include cell phones?
Yeah, so just think just watch your employees today and look how much they're communicating on their cell phone. So that's not even in the number, and we haven't really figured out a way to figure out what that number is, but we know it's significant because I'm sitting next to my landline all day and I talk on my cell phone all day long. So we're going to dive into what you can do about that interaction on the cell phone later on. Now, let's get back to this. Here's the thing. 3,600 of those inbound calls went to voicemail. And the general manager of this dealership, this was the most alarming thing to him on this graph was, oh my gosh. And you know what he was worried about was, I hope we're calling these people back, I think was his main worry. Now, when we think about our business, and you think about the processes and what you train on, we certainly have a process for all of these interactions, whether it be a showroom visitor, internet leads, a service RO process, a way of managing website visitors. We probably have a mapped process, might even be in the book. There's call guides, there's processes, there's email templates, there's all this strategy to help this customer that's interacting with your store in this manner. But that is really not where the interaction takes place. Here's where most of the interaction is, and we don't have a process for that. We don't have dedicated training to just be great at these things. And to me, that is a huge opportunity for any dealership to just improve the overall interaction with their customers. To me, Eliana, this is a chance to wow a customer 16,000 times a month. Just think of every customer that called our dealership when they hung up the phone, they thought, wow. And just think of what the impact would be on your business if we had the customers just thinking, wow, these people really know what they're doing.
Is this a typical dealership? I mean, this isn't an unusual dealership, is it?
No, this is a very typical, and we chose them for that purpose. We looked at all of our clients, and these guys fell right in the middle in terms of volume, car sales, and volume of all the other statistics here.
Gotcha.
So we have some groups that get 40,000 rings a month.
Wow.
Across 6 or 8 rooftops. So the wow factor is just there. All you got to do is just have a process to make this happen. And again, it doesn't really cost any money. It's really an education with your employees and a commitment to follow through on it. Again, when we look at our interaction, we've got a process in place 70% of the time, or excuse me, 30% of the time, 70% of our interaction. We really don't have a process and a training curriculum in place to manage that. And then this is similar. Dealership actually does better than the call review story, the call review study. In the call review study, there were a lot more people going to voicemail. So this dealership did better on average than what we saw in the other story, but they still had 1 out of 5 of their calls going to voicemail. And again, to the GM, he was really concerned about that. Again, each of these rings is a chance to wow that customer. So let's look at how we're going to do that, because there's definitely time for a change. There's a lot of industries that get this, and they understand the impact of the telephone. And our car dealerships, we're multi-million-dollar corporations, and we can't run them like a mom and pop. Let's get good on the phone, and I think you'll see it has a huge impact on your business and your morale, and just makes people want to do business with you. We have in our call center, this is on the wall, and it says, do your words create chemistry or conflict? Well, I believe that everything you say to a customer, everything you say to a customer in the way you say it does one of two things. It creates chemistry with that customer, or it creates conflict. Because to me, the lack of chemistry is going to be conflict, especially when we're in a business as competitive as ours. And if you just think about sales customers for a moment, and where they are in the process when they're calling the dealership, I can tell you this, that when you get that sales call, that phone up we call it, maybe it's one and done. If you blow that call, they're not calling you back. You don't have a name. You don't have a number. You burned that lead. And this is a customer that is in transaction mode. People calling the dealership today, sales calls, they are in transaction mode, meaning that they may have 1 foot out the door. They might even be in the car. We take phone ups from customers that are on the lot. So we really have to figure out a way to make that customer want to do business with us, and it really comes down to the words we're using. So we think that if we can build chemistry, we can create what we call the halo effect. And the halo effect, the way it works is when you're really good at something, customers assume you're good at everything. So I'm sitting in a hotel that is a great example. So I'm going to use them for an example today. I'm lucky to be at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Niguel, participating in the Dealer Socket User Summit, and they've put us up in this hotel. So I'm going to use them as an example. The Ritz-Carlton, 86% of their guests use their restaurant, and the industry average is just 46%. So if you ask the leadership team at Ritz-Carlton, why do your guests eat at your restaurant when the industry average is below 50%? They're going to tell you it's just the way we treat them. It is that halo effect. It's from the way we greet them, to the way we talk to them on the phone, to the way we interact with the guest. Every single time they assume our restaurants are going to be great too, and they don't leave the premises. They'll try those restaurants. We see this in a lot of other industries. A simple example is Chick-fil-A. If you've ever gone to Chick-fil-A, they've got teenage kids working in there. They do pay them higher than minimum wage, but they're still working in a fast food restaurant, and the way they talk to you and the way they interact with you just makes you feel great about their food. And Eliana, I eat out of a bag a lot when I'm traveling.
Do you?
And I do, and it's something for a 17-year-old girl to get me excited about supper in a bag just because she says it's going to be my pleasure to serve you at the window. So I can't wait to get up there and overpay for a chicken sandwich and eat it while I'm driving.
I actually like Sonic, because after you eat
Sonic?
yeah, have you ever eaten at a Sonic?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so after you order, they say, thank you so much for your order. Have a supersonic day. And I was like, yes, that's what I was aiming for.
I'm excited. So there are many, many examples of very successful businesses who understand that just the way we treat people sometimes is really going to decide whether or not they want to do business with us. And I would argue that if you are a Chevrolet dealer, for example, to the customer, we're all the same. The cars are the same, the incentives are the same, the prices are the same, the interest rates are the same. By golly, Chevrolet wants your dealerships to look the same, your websites look the same. This is a way to differentiate yourself and make people want to do business with you because they feel like they're going to get great treatment. But if you're great on the phone, then they assume you're going to do a great job with them in the showroom, in the service department. So let's get down to business. Let's talk about the 5 simple laws to create excellence in every call. And Eliana, we got another poll question, so I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Okay, real fast, everyone. Before we get to those 5 laws, we need to know who is currently answering the phones at your dealership for all incoming calls. So please, for this one, just select one of the following answers. Do you have a switchboard operator at your dealership? Or maybe you have one of those auto attendants, oh, thank you for reaching. Click 1 for sales, click 2 for service, right? Do you have a BDC who takes care of all of your incoming calls? Or maybe you have one of those nice ladies that's one of those cashiers who answers the phone. Or is it simply whoever's available in the dealership, or sometimes it's nobody answers the phone call? Whatever it is, we want to know. And you know what? You guys have been so great today so far with answering our poll questions. So I'm hoping we get just as many answering this poll question as we do for the next couple too. So who currently answers the phone at your dealership for all incoming calls? And we specifically did not put, if you've been on my webinars before, then you know usually we have I don't know as one of the answers. We specifically did not put that because we really feel that this is one of those answers you should probably know. Right, Greg?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
So votes are still coming in, but we do have a majority of the votes. So I'm going to give you another 10 seconds or so to figure out an answer for this, and let's close this poll and share the results. Are you ready, Greg?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Have a supersonic day, everyone. Here we go. Oh my God. Votes are still coming in. I hate to cut it off. Okay. With almost everyone voting, almost everyone has voted. We're going to tell you right now, 35% of today's audience said that they have a switchboard operator. 16% said that they use an auto attendant. 29%, wow, almost a third of our audience today says that their BDC answers all the calls. 11% of today's audience says that it's their cashiers. And a sliver of today's audience, 9%, said whoever's available, which might possibly be nobody, is answering the phones at their dealership right now. Greg, what do you have to say about that?
Well, this is actually good. So I like what I'm seeing. I will make this point though, that any of these methods can work, and especially with the material we're about to cover, we can make any of these things work. You reminded me of something, Eliana, with the auto attendant. There's a company that we buy our voice over IP phone systems for at the contact center. I was on hold with them one day and on tech support, and after a while this voice came on and said, if you're tired of holding, press 8. So I reached down and I pressed 8, and the voice said, there, feel better?
Oh, no, it didn't.
It did. And it had me rolling in my chair, and I just thought this is pretty funny way.
That is pretty funny.
Not take yourself too seriously. Okay, so let's talk about this. And the first law of putting excellence in every single phone call is we really need to map out the call flow. There is a science behind this. That the purpose of the map call flow is to make sure that every call gets handled properly. It's okay for a call to go to voicemail if the customer said that it's okay. What we want to try to avoid is sending someone into voicemail that's already been there and done that. Or we hear a lot of times the switchboard operator just doesn't really wait long enough for the customer to tell them, don't put me to voicemail. So we want to make sure the call gets to the right place, and we're real heavy on the customer's permission to do things on the phone. When we ask people permission and they give us permission, then we really can't be doing the wrong thing if they said it was okay. So this is just a little thing. And by the way, there are no magic bullets in this presentation today. This is all little stuff, but as they say, the devil's in the details. So here's an example. I think this comes from Gingras Automotive, which has rooftops in 3 different cities in Connecticut and Massachusetts. So when a call comes into that centralized switchboard and asks for sales, that switchboard operator will screen that caller and make sure that it's a true sales call. She'll ask them if they're shopping for a car, and if they say yes, we're shopping, then they know that that's a true sales call. She'll say something like, my pleasure, I'll be happy to connect you to our customer care center, and she'll forward that car to a designated number, which rings in their BDC, is trackable, and they've really got their arms around their phone ups. And it's this simple. So I see a lot of people struggle with tracking the phone because, let's face it, nobody uses a phone book anymore. They go to your website. You can have the sales number in a 72-point font and the service number and the body shop. They always call the top number. So a lot of calls come into the store. It looks like a phone up coming in, but we screen it and find out that it's not a phone up. The other benefit here is not only are we getting the customer where they need to go, but we're keeping the calls off of the BDC that aren't true sales calls, and that just prevents them from having to take the call and transfer it where it really needs to go. Make sense?
It makes sense to me, Greg. And you know what? We have a lot of people that are writing and saying, where do I get that?
The map?
Yeah, the map. Is that something that you're saying each dealership should have? Or is it something they should come up with? Or is it something that you have that you can share? Or what's the deal with the map?
I'll be happy to share it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when we'll put this up somewhere, Eliana, we'll put this, I've got several documents they're going to see today and I think they're going to want. So you be thinking about how we're going to share it with them. Maybe when we send out the recording, we can let them know where they can download.
We could do that, and audience, certainly, I'm sure Greg certainly wouldn't mind if you contacted him.
Oh, they can email me.
Yeah, Greg at myallcall.com, and I'm sure he'd be happy to just, attach it to an email right back at you. So you struck a chord with this one, Greg. What else you got?
Well, this is, I'm glad to hear that, because to me this is such a simple thing, Eliana. This is such a simple thing to fix. And I'm in dealerships, 6 or 8 different dealerships a month. We deal with all kinds of dealerships in the call center. It just seems to see this recurring, it's like the rusty nail sticking up in the garage and everybody keeps tripping over it. Let's just hammer this thing down and take care of it. This takes care of that call. The other thing it does for the switchboard operator is it clears the call off of her switchboard, so she doesn't have those ringbacks. Because ringbacks, when we listen to calls and customers ring back to the switchboard operator, you can hear the customer's temperament change. And every time that call gets mishandled, they get a little more frustrated. So again, everything we do creates chemistry or conflict, and we feel like that this is going to create chemistry with that customer most of the time. Nothing's 100%, but this is really getting your arms around the telephone. If you think about the same process with a service customer, the service customer here, well, actually, this is the employee. Someone asked for an employee by name, so it's just a process. I'd be happy to connect you to Eliana. If she's not available, is her voicemail okay? And they say yes, great. She can forward that call to Eliana. And if it goes to your voicemail, it's okay because the customer said it was okay. But if the customer says, no, I really need to talk to her, I'm supposed to be on a live webinar in 5 minutes, then certainly can I put you on hold and I'll track her down for you. So it's just a way of handling that call and using the customer's permission to leverage a great experience. The customer will tell you, here's how I want this experience to go. All you got to do is ask them, and they'll tell you how to get that wow out of them.
And before we go on to the poll question, I just want you to know, and I want the audience to know, even people in the auto industry need to buy cars from dealerships. And although I'm not associated with a dealership, I have called dealerships before to buy a car. And it went something like this. Hello, I would call the dealership and they would answer ABC Cars, and that would be it. And I'd be like, hi, yes, I found something on your website. I'd like to talk to somebody about it. Hold on, and then that's it. They don't, there's no, feel good, fuzziness, no warmth, no nothing. They just want to get you in, get you out. And so I think this would definitely have made a difference in my experience. Oh, we have a poll question, do we?
We do.
Here we go.
No, thanks for sharing that though, because it's true. Since I left the dealership, I've been on the other side of the counter, and certainly I am hyper aware, right, of everything that's going on. And there are some dealerships that really get it, and they're really, really great at this stuff. But most of us, there's a lot of room for improvement. Okay,
yes.
Go ahead. Phone etiquette.
Totally agree with you.
This is important. This is important.
This is a good question for everyone out there.
Yeah.
So audience, we need your help on this one. We want to know, do you currently have phone etiquette training in your new hire orientation packet? So for this one, hey, select one of the following answers. Is it yes, we use it, it's awesome? Or yes, but you know, we really don't enforce that stuff. Maybe you don't know. Is it no, but we're thinking about adding it? Maybe especially after this webinar we'll be adding it. Or is it no, what's a new hire orientation? People just hire us and they give us a desk and we get to it, you know? So whatever the answer is, we want to know. Lots of people are voting. Greg, I have to say, I think this has been the most engagement we've had on poll questions in a really, really, really long time. So the questions you picked obviously are striking a chord because we have a lot of people that are writing in and voting. And audience, thank you so much. It really, really makes me happy.
Well, Eliana, the thing is, this is a topic that applies to 100% of us. You see what I'm saying? This isn't, you know, this isn't an isolated job description. This is everybody.
This, you know what's funny? Phone etiquette is something that you hope everyone has, but you can't. That's just one thing. You cannot assume that everyone you hire has. Some people are great on the phone, and arguably, there's lots of people out there who are not so great. So if you can make them a little bit better, since they are representatives of your dealership to all people outside of the dealership, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it should definitely be a part of the new hire orientation. So I love this question, and we're going to get to those answers right now. All right, Greg, and the rest of the audience, here we go. 21% of today's audience said, yes, we use it, and it's great. 23% of today's audience said, yes, but we don't really enforce it. So there you go. That's almost half of our audience is just in the yeses. 8% said they really don't know if they have phone etiquette training, which, Greg, what do you think? If they don't know, that means they probably don't have it, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Now, the majority of people on today's audience, 31%, said no, not yet, but we're thinking of adding it. And 16% said, no, we don't. What the heck is a new hire orientation? So what do you have to say about that, Greg?
Well, it's great to see 21% are focused on this. You know, I think the one up there that hurts you the most is the second one. If you know, we have a saying, we do what we say we do. So if, in my point to my employees, if we're going to sit in training and learn this and we're going to practice it and role play it, then we're going to do it. So I think it hurts management's credibility when we put it out there and say, hey, this is what we do, and then that's really not what we do. And then if I'm a new salesperson or a new employee, I go into the workplace and the first thing the employees do is untrain me. They say, well, we don't really do that here. And I think that hurts our credibility as a leadership team more than even not having a program.
Right, and I want to point out one of our attendees, Joe, who was kind enough to come over and say hi to me while I was at AutoCon. Thank you, Joe. He actually wrote in, he said, my real answer is, after this webinar, we will be definitely implementing it. So, Joe, great answer. Sorry I didn't have that on the poll question, but thank you for sharing.
Is Joe a dealer or a GM?
Joe, you can write on in and let us know that.
Yeah.
I actually don't.
Be curious. It's got to come. It's got to come from that level, for sure. So I mentioned this earlier. Do your words create chemistry or conflict? And here's some secret sauce for you. So we call it in our in Kentucky. We call this talking pretty, right? This is what we call it. So you would talking pretty. So. Or how to talk more better, Eliana. That's we say that. It's okay to say that in Kentucky. These phrases, what these phrases do is they set a tone. People, also our customers, our people associate. So when we hear this kind of talk on the phone, when people are communicating to us, we associate that with places that are known for great service. For example, when I say, certainly I'd be happy to help you with that right away, or if I say, please allow me to put you on hold while I find Eliana, that is what we're talking about. This creates chemistry with that customer. It softens them up. We actually hear customers' tone change when we hit them with a lot of pretty talk, and it lowers their sales resistance. So if I'm a salesperson or a BDC agent and I talk like a service provider, then that's going to lower my customer's sales resistance. Whereas if I talk like a salesperson, that's going to raise my customer's sales resistance. And you can hear that sales resistance go up and down in their voice through the course of any phone call based on the words you're using and what you're saying to them, because your words define your role and your intent. So does anybody have this guy working in their dealership?
What's it going to take to make a deal?
Yeah. So if I'm a customer, I'm low in the funnel, I'm going to visit 1.3 dealerships, I'm making some phone calls, who do I want to go see? Do I want to see the person that's going to help me right away, or do I want to see the guy or gal that is trying to, shove a car up my you-know-what sideways over the phone? So this is where the talking pretty, the real name for this is a service-based language. This is a service-based language is what this is. The power that it has is just remarkable, and you really won't believe it until you hear it yourself. And by the way, we're talking about the phone, but Eliana, all these principles transcend into all forms of communication. So we can do it in a chat window, we can do it in email, we can do it in a text message, we can do it on the telephone, we can do it when we're leaving a voicemail. These are all things that we can really weave into all of our interaction with our customers. The other piece of Etiquette is to just always do things on a permission basis. So we've kind of already touched on this. If someone calls and asks for Bob, certainly if Bob's not available, is his voicemail okay? They say no. Then may I, again, we're asking permission, may I put you on hold while we page him? If he does say voicemail's okay, then we can send that call right into Bob or Joe's extension. If it goes into his voicemail, that's fine. The other benefit is that call is now cleared from the switchboard, and she or he doesn't have to worry about the phone ringing back, and no problems with that call. This is a best practice for sure. Warm transfers, we all know what warm transfers are. Here's somebody looking for Clark Griswold. I think when I think about warm transfers, I really think more about the executive committee. So if someone's asking for the general manager or the parts and service director or the dealer or the HR director, that's really when I look for that warm transfer. I don't try to warm transfer a call to a salesperson or service advisor, somebody that's often has a customer in front of them. So you just got to use your head and know when to try some of these things. This is a big deal, Eliana. Your salespeople's voicemail, your service advisor's voicemails, your payroll clerk's voicemail, everybody, you need to know what it says. We did a call in a workshop, got transferred to a salesperson's cell phone, and his voicemail was Lil Wayne rapping. So we listened to some Lil Wayne. Was Lil Wayne rapping? Yeah, please listen to Lil Wayne while we connect you. So my point is, it is their personal cell phone, but if they're going to use it for business, you really have a stake in what that voicemail is saying. Because especially if, just think, a third of our customers are hearing it, or a fourth of our customers. So 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 people are hearing these voicemails. So they really, really matter. They really matter. This is the kind of voicemail I will typically have on my mobile phone. There are some people out there that do this, and Eliana, I've tried this, and you know what happens? I forget to change it, and next week somebody's saying, dude, your voicemail says it's September 12th, and it's like the 20th. So
I totally agree. I totally agree.
So I admire and a little jealous of people that can remember to do this every day, and there's some people that are really good at it. I think it's great, but if you're going to do this, be sure you can stay on top of it, because I don't even attempt it anymore because I know I can't do it. the way we end a call is so, so important. Eliana, when we did this study it was a Toyota dealer, we went into their voice over IP system. We were able to pull up on the screen every phone call, and we sorted by the number calling. And we looked through that list of 16,000 calls and looked for times where we saw the same number 2 or 3 times in a row. And oftentimes what it was, a customer would call the dealership, they'd get their salesperson, they'd hang up, they'd call back and ask for the F&I person because their payoff was wrong. They'd hang up, they'd call the service department to schedule a bed liner or a spoiler or a CD player or a moonroof. And really all of that could have been prevented. The problem was also that each time they called, the call got mishandled, right? So even if that's going to happen, if we had the mapped call process in place, would have gone a lot better for them. Everybody's heard someone do this, right? It's at the end of the call, is there anything else I can help you with today? And I just can't think of a better way to end a call. Can you?
No, but whenever anyone asks me that, I always ask them to send me a bag full of hundreds.
Well, there you go.
That always puts a smile on my face.
I like it. I like it. Send me some swag. This isn't really about the telephone, but I wanted to bring this up. If your dealership pages, that paging is definitely setting a tone, and it can sometimes kind of be in your face. So just think about what's going out there when you're broadcasting. Put the words please, put the words thank you in there. So, someone might page me to the showroom saying, Greg Wells, come to the showroom, and then you hear the receiver hang up. No, that is Greg Wells, please come to the showroom, thank you, and use your finger to depress the end button so that we don't hear you clanging that phone back down. Ooh. This is absolutely true, absolutely 100% true testimonial. We did this study, we did this training, this dealership embraced it, they were behind it. We're back 60 days later, and I'm talking to the service cashier, and she says, the way we're paging now really changes the way the customers act, because they just sit there and they hear please and thank you, please and thank you. And she says, now when I hand them their bill, they say thank you, and they never used to do that before.
Wow.
So that's just the power of that repetition, right? And to me, it's kind of like Chinese water torture, right? They just keep hearing it, hearing it, hearing it. Now we got our customers saying it. By the way, we're really focused on our customers here, but it's all the stakeholders in the dealership that matter. So even the guy that comes in and puts the rugs down, or maybe it's the uniform company that calls your store a lot. Maybe it's the guy taking out the oil in the service, and maybe it's a warranty rep or a bank rep or a manufacturer rep. If my job is to deliver uniforms to car dealerships, and one of my friends asked me, where would you go buy a car? Well, what would I tell him? I'm going to tell him I'm going to go to the dealership that knows how to talk to people, because it has that ripple effect, not just to your employees and your customers, but also the vendors and the other stakeholders around the dealership. All right, one more poll question, I think.
Yes, we have a great poll question for you, audience. Here we go. So we want to know, does your dealership currently record all of your inbound calls? So please just select one of the following answers. Is it yes, but nothing is ever done with the recordings? Is it yes, and we have a vendor, did you like that? We have a vendor that monitors our calls for us. Is it no, but we're thinking about it? Or maybe it's no, management doesn't see the value. Or is it, I really don't know if our dealership currently records all of my inbound calls. That might be something you want to know.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt, no doubt. So whatever it is, we want to know. Once I get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close the poll, share the results. Hey, what happened to all of you? I had so many people voting earlier, and now not as many. So hopefully we'll get some more votes. And now here they come. So does your dealership currently record all inbound calls? I'm wondering, Greg, if they're like turning around asking somebody, hey, do we record our inbound calls? So hold on a second. Also, I wanted to let you know, audience, if you have any questions for Greg, we're going to be getting to those questions and answer session very shortly. So if you got a question about phone practice, all that stuff. Hey, great time to write in your question now and be one of the first questions that we ask Greg. And we'll be getting to those in just a few minutes. So let's close this poll and share the results now that we have a lot of people voted. Thank you so much for your votes. And here we go. 31% of today's audience said yes, they do currently record all the inbound calls, but nothing is ever done with the recordings. That's 31%. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. 36% said yes, we have a vendor that monitors our calls for us. So right there, that's by far a majority of the votes say yes, they are recording the calls.
Yeah, 67%.
Right.
And that's good.
That is good. 18% said no, we don't record them, but we're thinking about it. 9% said management does not see the value in recording the inbound calls, and 7% said that they really don't know if their dealership is recording all of their inbound calls. Greg?
Well, the fourth one there, management doesn't see the value, and I talk to a lot of managers who just know, we could do that. It's not a matter that we don't want to do it, but we know we don't have the discipline to do anything with the data. So I think some of those folks are probably have that paradigm that we don't record the calls, or we used to, but we never did anything with it. So I want to share with them a way to get some value out of those recorded calls. That's
I was going to say, Greg, is 9% of management doesn't see the value any better than the 31% that's actually doing it, but then they don't do anything with the recordings?
Yeah. Again, I think I think that hurts your credibility as a manager. Gosh, I hate to hear in the dealership, and we don't really do that, or the program of the month, and man, we just need some consistency and some patience and some time to let things mature, and it's a chronic problem. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about ways to measure it all. We're going on the premise that we are recording calls or we're tracking calls. There are a couple of ways we can measure if all this pre-talk and all this permission-based stuff, and we're paging differently, we've got everybody's voicemail dialed in, we're making sure calls are getting answered, we're not sending anybody to voicemail, all this great stuff's happening. Okay, how do we measure the effect of that? So there's a couple of ways to measure it. One would be just a simple traffic to calls ratio, which we'll look at. Another would be voicemail percentage. So if you see the amount of voicemails going down, then you know your call mapping's working. The third thing is CSI. That should definitely have a positive impact on CSI and online reviews. And fourth thing would be turnover. So here's one of the hidden benefits of this, Eliana. When we're great on the phone, it seeps into other interaction. It becomes part of our culture. We start being great with each other in the way we communicate, and at the end of the day, it just makes your job more fun, and it makes it a more enjoyable place to go and work because there's a lot of chemistry being created, and it doesn't really leave room for conflict. So that's kind of a surreal benefit, but is definitely for real. At the store we looked at the beginning, showroom and closed ROs as the percentage of inbound rings. So we just took the amount of showroom visitors and service visitors and divided it into the amount of inbound rings. They're at 14.8%. As you get better, we should be attracting more people to the showroom, and we should see that percentage rise. So you got to establish your baseline first. Figure out where you are now and come back and look at it every 30 or 60 days. I guarantee if you're doing these things, I guarantee good results. They are absolutely built into this behavior. Another easy thing to do is scoring calls. So I have a lot of examples of this. If anybody wants to ask for this, I'll be happy to share it with you. This is the easiest thing in the world to do. Just create a simple 5 or 10 point scorecard. If it's a salesperson or a service advisor, you'd probably have like a 10-point scorecard. If we're just monitoring switchboard operators, receptionists, and so on, we could probably get away with a 5-point scorecard. All you got to do is download the call, email it to that frontline employee, whoever they are, with the scorecard attached. ask them to listen to their call, score themselves, and send you back the results. Eliana, this is one of the most amazing things in making employees get better on the phone, is to let them listen to themselves and let them score themselves.
Greg?
And when they do that, they don't want to send back a 20, and the next time you do it, I promise you, they're gonna. It just has a great impact on making them aware while they're in the moment, basically, of how they're supposed to be handling these calls. So dealers who do this kind of thing, it really accelerates progress immensely. It's a huge, huge thing. We do this at All Call. We pull random calls. We give them to the agents. They have to score themselves and send them back to us. And you know what else it does? It takes away all that time that you used to spend or you try to spend listening to calls. You don't have to listen to the calls. Let them listen to them and evaluate them, and this works really well.
Well, I want you to know a lot of people like that. Where can they get it? I have people are begging me right now. They want a copy of the scoring sheet. Where do they get that?
Just email me. Just email me, Greg at my All Call, and then Eliana, you and I'll get together and we'll put all this up somewhere, either on your site or my site or both, where they can download it.
Audience, I'm going to give it to you again. You'll see it in a few minutes when we get to the question and answer session, because his email will be on there, but it is greg@myallcall.com. You know what? I'm going to put it in the chat feature for everyone just so that they have it. So if there's something you want from Greg, Greg, you're going to be busy while you're in Cali.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, so, hop on your email and go and email away to Greg. He is so nice for offering. Oh my goodness, people really want that. Okay, God, you sold it, Greg. They want it.
All right. All right. Here's how to make this all work. First of all, there's a great book out there it's called How to Be a Great Boss by a guy named Jeff Fox. I read this book at least once a year. It's a real easy read. The takeaway from the book is people do what their boss does, right? Leaders lead by example. There are 100 cliches here. If you want your employees to be great on the phone, then your managers have to be great on the phone, the dealer has to be great on the phone, and the GM has to be great on the phone. I can remember, Eliana, I worked at Paul Miller Ford in Lexington, Kentucky for about 10 years, and we had this training early on. And I can remember calling my F&I manager to check on a deal. I'm on the desk, I'm calling back there, and every time I would call him, before he would hang up, he'd say, "Wellesley, before I let you go, is there anything else I can help you with today?" And so we had fun with it. Our employees heard us. We did it with each other. We did it with our salespeople, and it made us remember to do it with our customers. But it really needs to be the managers really have to be the ones that are leading the way with this training. To make it stick, practice with each other. Daily focus points is a real good process. So Eliana, we could do a whole webinar on daily focus points, but what they boil down to is each day we pick something that we're just going to be awesome at that day. And it might be talking pretty, it might be asking for permission, it might be paging, but for that day everybody in the dealership knows we are just going to be incredible. And then the next day we move on to something else, and it's easy to see what happens. A little bit of that training sticks every day. We have 25 of these that we use at All Call in our contact center, and we go through all 25 of them. We just start over.
25 daily focus points?
Yeah,
Wow,
we have one per day for 25 days. And it might be, for us, it might be capturing an email address on a sales call. It might be using a video email. So it might be a little different than what our audience would come up with. Doesn't matter what they are. Just do them, and for that day, make that the focus for everybody in the dealership. You could put that out on an email. You could post it on your Facebook page. However you want to get that message out to your employees, get it out there. And for that day, just be awesome. Remember Seinfeld when George, at that moment, I was a marine biologist. This is what it reminds me of. So for one day, just be incredible. Rewards programs, of course, it needs to be part of your handbook. It needs to be part of your new hire orientation. It needs to be part of your training. But the most important thing, as we saw from the poll, is we got to do what we say we're going to do. So if it's in the handbook and it's what we're supposed to be doing, then we need the credibility of leading by example. And that, yeah, guess what? This is actually what we do in the dealership. The last thing, Eliana, is just be awesome. You know if you're being awesome or not. I think it's a choice. I think the phone is such a part of our background and every day. We just take it for granted and we forget about it. It is a grind for sure, but every time that phone rings and every time we dial a customer or a prospect or an owner or a vendor, anytime we make a phone call or take a phone call, it's an opportunity to be awesome, and it's an opportunity to get that customer to think, wow, these people are awesome. This is where I want to buy a car. This is where I want to service a car. This is where I'm going to send my friends. This is where I'm going to recommend my relatives go, and this is where I'm going back. And really, it's just those things. So the takeaways, really, it's all basic stuff. I tell my agents all the time, ladies, everything you need to know, you learned in kindergarten. You really did. Everything you
I love
need
that
to know.
book. I love that book.
Isn't it great? All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Look at everything you do, and it either creates chemistry or it creates conflict. If it creates chemistry, amen, brother, let's roll with it. If it creates conflict, get rid of it. You can't afford this with someone calling the store, especially in the showroom, because I'm telling you folks, they are in a process of elimination. They've got 2 or 3 dealerships lined up. They're going to visit 1.3. We know this. So that phone is often the pathway to your showroom. So be great with that caller. Even if, what's so funny is even if you don't have the rock bottom lowest price in the market, you can still attract this customer to your showroom because they're going to go where they're going to get good treatment. It's why people go to Macy's when they can get the same stuff at Big Lots for the same money. They go to Macy's because they want the great experience. They want to be treated. They want to be treated well.
They go to the expensive restaurants instead of the best.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
That's right. Make it part of your hiring. Make it part of your culture. Make it part of your training. Everybody is accountable. Everybody that uses the telephone in your dealership is accountable for the words coming out of their mouth. And they either decide to be awesome or they decide not to be awesome. So make it part of your hiring. So look for people that are going to be good on the phone, especially if you're going to put them in a phone job, right?
Customer-facing job, yeah.
Yeah, anytime we hire a BDC rep, that first interview is always on the telephone. If they can't do it for me on the telephone, there's no sense in them coming in and talking to me face-to-face because we need them to talk to customers on the phone. And lastly, just know you can be great on the phone. You really can be. It's not difficult. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It just takes a commitment. And I've seen a lot of dealers just throw the towel down and say, daggone it, we're going to do it and make that commitment. And it's such a groundswell initiative that it can catch fire pretty quickly. And it's a lot of fun. It makes it a better place to work for sure. But most importantly, it makes it a better place to buy and service my automobiles. So it's time for me to pass the offering plate. Eliana, I'm done preaching. We're coming up on the benediction. So anyway, I'm ready for any questions you might have on this topic or any topic.
I have a smile from ear to ear right now. I thought your presentation was absolutely stupendous. Before we get to questions from the audience, of which, by the way, we have some really, really great comments and questions from the audience. And audience, if you have more questions for Greg, hey, send them on in. Now's a perfect time to do that. Before we do that, I have to let you know, Greg, we made a mistake. On the last poll question, I finally figured out why we didn't get as many votes as the first 4. Even though it was a majority.
Oh, what happened?
We didn't have an answer, and a lot of people wrote in to tell us that we didn't have the answer that they wanted, which was, yes, they record the calls in-house, and they do use them. We
Oh,
should
okay.
never put that as an answer. So thank you to all those people who pointed it out to us. And you people are phenomenal. So thank you so much for letting us know that there are lots of people on this call right now who do record the calls, and they do use them. They use them for training. They review the calls, all that stuff. So thank you so much for that. So mystery solved on that. And yes, we have some business to take care of. So audience, you know I love this time of the webinar. It's that time. If you missed it, at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at All Call Automotive Contact Centers are giving away a great prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a new Apple TV with 1080p HD. Oh yeah, this device gives you access to the best content, movies, TV shows, sports, music, photos, the works as we like to call it, and it puts it right on your widescreen TV. And you can even play content from your iOS devices on your TV using AirPlay. Now, only one of you lucky attendees is going to be scoring this totally cool prize today. All you have to do is answer a simple question about today's presentation. The first one to write in the correct response is going to win this awesome prize today. So get to your keyboards, get ready. Good luck, everyone. Greg, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, audience, I hope you're ready. Here we go. Good luck, everyone. Question is, what is it called when you're really good at something and then people automatically assume you must be good at everything? What's that called? We have a winner! Love it! I just want you to know some people put awesome, by the way. While that is a great answer, it was not the actual answer we were looking for. But thank you so much for that. Our winner today is Jason Cohen. Jason Cohen, as well as many of you, all had the correct answer, which was the halo effect. Thank you so much, everyone, for playing. Jason Cohen, write on in and let me know what dealership you are from. And hey, while you're at it, send me your mailing address so we can get this awesome Apple TV with 1080p HD out to you. Jason Cohen, by the way, is with DCH Brunswick Toyota. So thank you so much for that. Jason, I'm putting your name down in ink. You are today's winner. And of course, we want to say congratulations to Jason Cohen. I wish you the very best of luck with that awesome prize, which I wish I won. And of course, we also want to thank All Call Automotive Call Centers and Greg Wells for their incredible generosity today. That was very, very fun. Now, Greg,
Yes.
are you ready for your first question, my love?
I am.
Okay, first question comes to us from Allison. Allison says, we are a three-top. Should we have a centralized switchboard for all of our rooftops or an individual switchboard operator at each location? Greg, this is not the first time I've heard a question like this come across my webinar, but do you have any advice for Allison and other people like Allison?
Well, I think my instincts tell me centralized, and the reason is when we centralize things, we narrow the scope of what we have to monitor. So when we centralize that, not only does it make it easier to monitor, but it also makes it easier to perfect. So when we have less chances of a process going in the wrong direction, we pull everything into one central location. It's going to be easier to create the great culture and the great phone skills when we kind of bottleneck that through that person that's going to be the best interactor with that customer. So I would say, generally speaking, if you can centralize things, you can be better at them. And there's certainly some logistics. So, you know, some dealerships have logistics they have to deal with, but I think for the most part, anytime we can centralize anything, it's an opportunity to get really, really good at it.
Fantastic. Great answer. Allison, I hope that helped you out. And we have another great question from our friend Joe, who, as you recall, wrote in earlier about something else. And he's, by the way, an internet director, shooting to be the next GM of dealerships,
Cool.
Of course. Joe, Joe wrote in, and by the way, he has a follow-up question to this as well. He says,
Okay.
Greg, awesome information. So he wants me to let you know. Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
And this was before you said, go be awesome. He says, any comments on what to look for when hiring that first contact person we call the receptionist? What should you look for? What's the overriding friendliness, nice voice? What is it?
Well, I think it's someone who's cheerful and positive and genuine. I definitely would interview them on the phone. If you can't do that for the first interview, certainly you want to make it part of your process. You want to hear that person on the phone. We give people typing tests. We want to watch them browse the internet. We want to watch them use our software. And I just want to see if they're comfortable with the internet and the Microsoft Office products. And I want to make sure they can type. And then little things like I want to make sure they're willing to wear a headset. I want to make sure they're okay that their calls are being recorded. And past that, you already know. They just need to be cheerful, I think, is the main thing. And so many dealerships, Eliana, it's the switchboard operator is a unapproachable subject. So when I start talking to a dealer and I find out, well, it's so-and-so's aunt or such and such's niece, or she's been here for 30 years, oh my God. So I have to pick my battles, and I usually don't take on that battle. But man, this person is so important. It's so important that this person put out that first impression that's just awesome. And I feel for dealers who are stuck in a situation. But to answer Joe's question, just look for a cheerful person that's great on the phone and is willing to do the things you're going to ask them to do. Because I hate when I start to working with an employee that's been there and they're really not willing to wear a headset, or they're real, I don't like to say my pleasure. It's a problem now, whereas these are things we should have discussed before we ever hired this person.
When you had that slide about the nice talk, one thing I did, the sweet talk. One thing I did not see on there is, okay, hold on, which unfortunately is what I usually get when I talk to dealerships.
Yeah.
That's not. Okay, just so you know, Joe wrote back in, and he says, it sounds like I should look for previous Disney World employees. And I also want you to know, David wrote in, and he said that they call their receptionist the director of first impressions.
Oh, I love that. I'm writing that down.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, David, you started something. And Joe, if you think you can get a previous Disney World employee, I think that would be an awesome idea.
I heard Goofy's looking for a job.
Oh, really? Poor Goofy.
Hey, Eliana, to Joe and to everybody else, because it just kind of hit me when Joe said he's an internet director. So he probably can't go back and instill this as the new scope of the dealership. Just start with the internet team. It'll spread. It will absolutely spread. It really all starts with the switchboard. She's ground zero. He's ground zero of an awesome experience. But if you don't really have influence over everybody in the dealership, just start with your team. Guess what? People are going to notice, and they're going to emulate that. You're going to see great results, and at some point your dealer's going to say, hey, Joe, tell me what you're doing, because I like it. So if you can't tackle the whole dealership, just start with your department. It will spread, I promise you, and especially if you're using it internally around the dealership.
I think that is one thing that is definitely going to catch on. I absolutely agree. The thank you and the please, it's always going to catch on. That's why they make kids do it in kindergarten. I know.
It does.
In kindergarten.
It does. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's get to this great question from Dennis. He says, the timing of the webinar could not have been better. We are in the process to completely overhaul our phone etiquettes and the way we are answering. So thank you. He says, Greg, what is the first thing you would do to turn a whole dealership around and become better? That's from Dennis, by the way.
Well, it has a lot to do with the personality of the dealership. There's a leader in that dealership that everybody looks up to. It might be the dealer, it might be the GM, but there is someone who sets the tone and the personality of the dealership. That person needs to be the flashpoint. They need to be the one to bring this message to all employees. When we did this in our dealership, it was during the middle of Blue Oval, which was back in around 2000.
So there was a lot of process stuff going on, and J.D. Powers was going to come in, and it really kind of forced us to look at things like this. But we cascaded it through the department heads. So each department head was responsible for being the evangelist of a great phone culture. And it worked for us, but you know the personality of your dealership. But it needs to come from someone at or near the top, for sure.
And I also believe that great customer service always comes from the top. If the top really believe in great customer service, it's going to trickle down to everyone else below. So it's not the only thing that comes from the top, but it certainly is a great place to start.
And Eliana, just to re-mention daily focus points, absolutely the most effective thing you can do to make this work. There's nothing that's going to come close to everybody each day getting behind something and just trying to be awesome at it that day. And that is a great way to introduce this also.
Yes, I agree. Fantastic information, Greg. I do want to address concerns by Anthony. I know you, Anthony. Anthony, you and I, we go way back. Anthony and Peggy and a few other people who were concerned how they can get a copy of this webinar. Guess what? We are recording this. I'm going to be sending out that link to you in, well, a few hours once I get it, up and online and stuff. So you'll be getting that link tonight. Don't worry about it. Okay, look for an email from me later on today. And let's get to this other question. By the way, great question, Dennis. Thank you so much, and good luck. I hope you get the phone process in that you really, really want. And I'm sure with this webinar behind you, you definitely have a great possibility of doing so. Joe wrote in again. He says, other than good phone skills, can we teach good phone etiquette and, of course, inspect what you expect? So I guess that has to go back to what you're listening for in a recorded phone call as well. So, Greg, you can teach good phone etiquette, right?
Hey, we can teach people how to talk more better.
More better?
Golly, I just take it for granted that people know how to speak proper English. I unfortunately at the time grew up with a father who was an English teacher, so it's hard for me to imagine not knowing or wanting to speak proper English. But I guess going back to Joe's question a while ago, that should be part of the interview process, shouldn't it? We should determine whether this person has the ability to do. But I think through repetition, you can train anybody to say anything and say it the right way. So, yes, you can teach phone etiquette. You can teach proper terminology. When this thing all boils down, we're just talking about a handful of words and phrases. So if I can learn my ABCs, if I can learn the Star Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance, I should be able to learn how to say, certainly my pleasure, and I'd be happy to help you with that right away. And is there anything else I can help you with today? We should certainly be able to learn how to do those things.
And Joe wanted you to know that he thought this was an awesome webinar. He's got to go sell some cars, but please, he's asking you, please, begging, speak at the next AutoCon, NADA, Digital Dealer, something, something. Thank you so much. So that one comes from Joe.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Okay, next question comes to us from Dennis. He says, how do we teach old dogs new tricks regarding phone etiquette? So here's another person who thinks it might not be as easy as you think it is, Greg, to teach somebody phone etiquette.
Well, this is where you have to grow a pair, so to speak. This was what I said. There can be no sacred cows. It applies to everybody, and you're accountable or you're not. So if you've got what I said, the way I put it is your managers are analog and your customers are digital. All right. So if we've got to pull that manager out of the 80s, out of the 90s, you know what? Record his calls and send him a scorecard and ask him to rate himself on the phone, and just go ahead and email that back to me and the dealer. And guess what? He'll get it. He'll get it. Those guys are just going to test you. This is the same guy that wouldn't use email, and this is the same guy that wouldn't use vAuto, and this is the same guy that didn't want to, use any software that you had. it's the same resistance you're getting. It's just they don't want to change. So just go back and revisit how you got them to change the way they appraised cars. Ask them to go back and look at how you got them to change the way we process a deal. And now this is the way we get them to change how we interact with our customers on the telephone.
Okay, so Dennis, who asked that question, wrote back and he says, "Great answer, Greg. I'll go and get a big stick to make the change needed happen."
There you go. That's
why I wasn't laughing at your answer. That came in and I was like, "No, there you go, Dennis."
And sometimes you got to beat them with the carrot, right? So beat them with the stick and beat them with the carrot. No, man, it exists in every dealership. I'm not making light of it. I understand, but that is the only way to get those guys if you can't get them to see the benefit in it. I don't know how anybody could not see the benefit in being good on the telephone, but you just have to hold them accountable to the same standards you're holding everybody else accountable. And by the way, if the dealer and the GM are on board, that person is going to follow them. If we let them be a prima donna, they're going to be a prima donna. So it's really about no one is exempt. Everyone's accountable, and that will include them.
I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, we're asking a lot from those old car guys. We are.
Yeah.
You know, 12 years ago, there wasn't even a Google, for Pete's sake, you know? So now we want them to be good on the internet. They have to be good at email. They have to go into social media. And, hey, what's this? You want me to talk different now? So
yeah.
It's not easy, but it's all for their betterment and all for the best for the dealership. So, Dennis, thank you so much.
You know, BDCs overcome a lot of that. So when there's a good BDC in place and nearly all phone calls are coming and going from the BDC, then that guy's not on the phone with customers as much. Now, he might be trying to get a deal done or talking to the auction or getting a buy bid. But at least he's not talking to your customers. If they can't do it, put it in the hands of somebody that can. I don't really count on anybody outside of a BDC to do things. We structure our BDCs with all of our clients to be fail-proof in that we're backing up and we're doing everything that the dealer wants done, and we don't rely outside of the BDC. We really don't rely on those person to handle these calls. We channel everything through that call center. And that's another way to remedy that, Dennis, is just if you can't talk to people on the phone, just keep him off the phone.
Right, right. Okay, I do want to get to our last couple of questions here. By the way, Dennis wrote in, thank you very much. So thank you, Dennis. Great question. Thank you. Great talking points. Rosie, I love your name, Rosie. Rosie wrote in, Greg, is there any texting tool that you are aware of that is related to the BDC?
Pinger.
Huh?
Pinger. P-I-N-G-E-R.
P-I-N-G-E-R. Pinger. Rosie, yes. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I never have.
We use it at All Call. It's not to be a Pinger commercial. It's free, first of all, so it fit our budget. It is a desktop texting application that's just really, really cool. So for example, the way we use it is all of our text alerts. Anytime any of our All Call clients get a new lead and we're the first responder, we get that ping on our desk. So we just plug in our Pinger number for the alert so we can tell where it's coming. We also use Pinger to communicate with our clients' customers, but we use it mostly to communicate with our clients. So for example, Eliana, if you were a desk manager and we just set an appointment in your showroom, we would ping you or send you a text via Pinger saying, hey, we just set an appointment with Rosie. She'll be in at 2:15. Here's the car she's looking at, and it's got our signature in it. But it's P-I-N-G-E-R. It's free. And you can actually, Rosie, you can start getting text leads now, because if you put your Pinger number on your vehicle descriptions and so on, people can actually text you directly from their cell phone, and you immediately capture that mobile number, and it's a great way to get leads. If you look at let's see, somebody that's doing this. If you look at Reed Lalyer's website, ReedLallier. They're in Fayetteville, North Carolina. When you look at all their inventory photos, it'll say text Terry at, and that's his pinger number there. So
Oh.
pinger is awesome.
Rosie, I hope that helps you out. And Greg, I only have one more comment for you, and this one comes from David. Oh, by the way, Rosie said, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
David wrote in, I have decided to be awesome. That is great. I'm taping it to the top of my monitor right now. Decide to be awesome. So, Greg,
Cool.
you certainly came with the awesomeness. Thank you so much. That was awesome presentation. And I'm using the word awesome. It was awesome. I'm so glad I got you on the show to do this. This was fabulous. I hope you'll consider coming back and doing another one with me sometime.
I will. I'm glad it's a popular topic. It's not the typical nuts and bolts of how to close a deal or get a lead, but I think it's important. And remember the giant gorilla in the room. I really think that's the way it is in our business. We need to pay attention to that telephone because it can just cost us millions of dollars.
No, I thought it was wonderful, wonderful. And if you come up with another topic, I would love to have you back on here again. So, audience, of course. Excellent. We're already past the top of the hour. Any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted? Hey, we're going to get to them later today. And I want to remind the audience a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you later today. Give me a few hours and look for an email again from me, Eliana at DEALERUN.com. And when you get it, feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. You're more than welcome to. Today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. So just go to DEALERUN.com/webinars. And you can click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars, and from there you can access any of our past webinars too. You can also view and register for any of our upcoming webinars as well. And hey, this webinar is going to conclude in just a moment, and you're going to receive a short survey. I'm begging you, fill it out, because we want to know what you thought about today's webinar with Greg Wells. If you thought he did a good job, you got to fill out. It's a short survey. It's only like 6 questions. But in there, it lets you grade Greg on his performance today, and I hope that we get a lot of people who write in on these surveys, because that was just a fantastic presentation. We want to know what you thought, and hey, you know what? Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So you can't win if you don't enter, all right? I also want to let you know DealerUn is going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Las Vegas, baby. It's going to be at the Mirage, October 15, 16, and 17. We're going to be at booth 809. Yeah, I'm going to be there. I already got my tickets. And we have not 1, not 2, but 4 DealerUn presenters during this year's DDC Fall Conference. So if you're going to be there, please check out those speaking sessions. They are all fabulous. I've seen them all speak. They're wonderful, and you definitely do not want to miss that. And come and visit us at booth 809. Prizes, surprises, all kinds of good stuff. And for more information or to get your tickets, go to digitaldealerconference.com. And our good friends at All Call will also be presenting at Digital Dealer. Greg, you missed out on this one, but it's okay, because we got Tanya Brown. She is the Sales and Marketing Director at All Call. And she was previously the founding president of Women in Leadership from Ford Motor Company. So guess what? She's going to be talking about the impact of women in the automotive industry, both in the dealership side as well as the female buying power. This is going to be a powerhouse presentation you definitely do not want to miss. So hopefully you'll catch it at the 15th Digital Dealer Conference and Expo next month in Vegas. Hope to see you there. And hey, invitations are going to be going out tomorrow for our next webinar. Top 10 new strategies that are going to light your social media on fire. Are you tired of using the same old social media ideas? Do you need a new perspective? Do you want to stand out from what other dealers are doing? Well, then this free 1-hour webinar is for you. Because you know what? Multi-billion-dollar companies spend enormous amounts of money in research and marketing every year to come up with cutting-edge ideas. So why not use their hard work and investment to your benefit? Auto industry powerhouses Kate Frost and April Rain. They are going to share the latest multi-million-dollar ideas and successful social media concepts being executed outside of the auto industry, and discuss how you can apply those groundbreaking strategies at your dealership. These fresh and innovative social media strategies will not only spice up your current programs, but they will also increase traffic and leads and set your ROI ablaze. So, if you're ready to light your dealership's social media on fire, then this is a webinar you can't afford to miss. It's going to be another fabulous presentation by your friends at DealerUn. Don't forget, DealerUn's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we have some awesome webinar subjects planned for the rest of this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars or our topics, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. Track me down online or email me at eliana@dealerun.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one.